Hello, my name's Troy. This is actually my first YouTube video, so bear with me. Going to be trying to repair the sending unit in my '01 F350 7.3 diesel. Haven't seen a lot of videos on fixing the sending unit, so I thought maybe I would try to make a video with a cheap, very cheap repair off of parts I ordered on Amazon. So that hopefully it can save a guy from spending the mortgage payment on a new sending unit from the dealership. So I got the tank out of the truck. One of the symptoms was the fuel gauge, not gas gauge, because it's diesel. The fuel gauge was stuck on full all the time. We were having to keep track of it by just doing the odometer, like making sure I just went and filled it up every 230 miles. Also had trouble with not being able to use a full tank of gas because the suction tube on the bottom of the sending unit had broke off. I found out once I had dropped the tank, pulled the sending unit out, and I started looking at prices of sending units. You know, crazy. But found a new sending unit that's in this box here off of eBay Motors for less than $100. I think it was like $96. That's my backup plan. I got a couple parts over here to replace the suction tube and the two filters that go inside the housing of the sending unit. And I also got a new resistor for the float. So we're going to check all that out, see if I can just replace those parts. That cost me about $36 off Amazon for those two parts. We can get it working for that. That beats the heck out of paying $600 for a new sending unit. So get over here and I'll show you the old one. Basically, this is the crusty old sending unit. You can see all the rust build up and everything on there, and the suction tube broke off here. That's a common thing that happens with these. You know, this little guy's good. Looks like something off a whoopee cushion, but that's fine. So other than that, I'm going to hook up to this plug. You can trace the lead once you get this out. Off the resistor. This is the piece here that runs your, you know, full, empty, no more go juice, whatever. So if you get where your dash is only reading full all the time, no matter what you do, an easy way to check that is to get underneath the truck, unplug the sending unit from the harness, and basically you can hook up a test light. Hook the test light up between the two leads going to the dash. Just kind of run one side of the test light into one side of the plug and the other side into the other side of the plug that goes up to the dash off the wiring harness. And if you turn the key on, your fuel gauge goes to half the tank or down to empty or whatever, anything other than full, then you know your sending unit is bad. And that's just the easy way to check without dropping the tank and testing it. You can just get underneath and unplug. Of course, for me to fit under mine, I had to pull the drive shaft out. But anyway, that's another story. So you can test this by following this lead off the side right here. This is the crusty ground that we have. Somehow it still has good continuity, but we're going to trace this one, and it comes up, goes into this side of the plug, which is this yellow wire. Pretty faded, but it's yellow, whitish colored. And then that also goes in right here. And then you just correlate that with the same side of the plug. And I'm going to take my voltmeter, set it to the horseshoe, or ohms for us nerds out there. Touch it here, and I would recommend an alligator clip for your ground to the housing of the sending unit. And you're going to want to see this number change. So I'm trying to hold this up here if you can see the number on the sending unit. So when I move this float, that number should fluctuate up to about 90 ohms. It's from like 0 or 5 ohms to 90 ohms, somewhere around there. And it's not doing anything. Of course, my ground came off. Let's do her on here. Yep, it's not adjusting at all. So we know for sure this piece is bad. I mean, probably because of all the rust. So, and I can verify that I have continuity by touching the other plug. This is clipped onto the housing, maybe. Yep, got good continuity there. So we know for sure we were getting, the connections where we need them, and this guy isn't moving, it's just staying on open line. So we know this is bad and we got to replace those parts. And this one is 20 times longer than the other one. That's all right. Don't worry about that. So now that we tested, make sure, that this isn't doing the resistance thing. I'm going to start taking these components off here where this broke. It's super rusty, but I think got to turn a little bit. Maybe we can slide this dude off here. There we go. Yeah, that's just, it said I'm done with life and gave up. So I'm going to try, of course, I'm going to be gentle as I can. Of course, backup plan over there in that box. This is what I want to work. That one, we'll use that if this doesn't work out. So, let's see. Get these straps off of here. And they're completely rusted through. So I'm going to be changing this hose out and putting new clamps on this. Just kind of want to get these off of here. Run everything. Yeah, those are just completely falling apart. That's to be expected. I just can't believe this was rusted so bad. It's crazy. I've never seen anything like it. Of course, water's always a problem with diesel. I guess it's a good thing none of it got into the engine, as far as I know, I guess. Just come off of there, you little so-and-so. Okay. Try, because I don't really care about saving this, but I do want the float. I want to try and wire wheel that a little bit to get some of the rust off of it. Because it just looks like it's on the surface. Well, why is everything else so brittle? And this thing doesn't even want to break. Could we get some consistency in the decay? Probably not. Okay. Come on now. Aha! Okay. Let's save this here. Jeez. Much rather do this than spend anywhere from $400 to $600 on a new cement unit. She was boogered up. Boogered up pretty good. So, if you've never seen the inside of one of these, it's basically just a whole lot of little, each one of those metal connections has a different resistance, and you've got this little piece here that basically just, I don't know if I can get it on the right way. Okay, it broke off. Well, that's part of the problem right there. That's probably the main problem, is that broke off. But basically, pretend that that lip was still on there and it moves up and down like this, touching this metal piece, and that causes your tank to read either empty or full or half tank, whatever. And that's what we're going to replace. And I'll put a link in the description to the replacement part. It's a little bit bigger, but I figure we can swap the float out, attach this to where that's at. Same, right? So as long as we have the same resistance off of this, then we're good. This doesn't work. Backup plan. Let's see if I have to splice a new connector on there, or if it'll let me pull these apart. Nope, it just pulled apart. So we'll splice a new connector here. There's two little tabs right here for this. There's two, basically, these little canister filter. There's one goes in each one of these cylinders right here. If you do, or if you're just maintaining your rig, and this is fine, but you just want to change the filters and the screen out, you got to push in on these two. There's one on the other side right behind the, right there. This thing pops out, these both go in, and then you can put the screen, got a new screen that goes on, that'll go right there like that, and you can update your sending unit without having to buy a new one if it's still working everything. Maybe the screen's plugged up, these little filters get plugged up with, because this thing pulls up rust particles and stuff through it from apparently this. So, because the tank's plastic, so this is the only thing in there that's rusting. So yeah, you just want to, if you are maintaining it or you have the tank out, messing with this, it's best to go ahead and change those anyway, just for preventative maintenance. So, let's see if we can figure out what we're going to do to get this off of here. So it looks like it might be soldered to it, or like spot welded or something. Let's see what our readings are on this one first. 20-foot long ground wire. Put this onto the housing. Set this back horseshoe, horse track mode. There we go. Okay, so this is going to be in the empty position, and currently it's reading 15 ohms. I'm going to slowly move it, and then that number should climb. Where are we at there? 97. Holy cow. This might not work. 166. So, I don't know. I think I read online something it needs to be from 5 to 90 on those other ones. I think since I have another sending unit over here, we'll hook up to it and test it and see if it's close to this range or not. So this is the eBay sender, and it comes with everything in it. I mean, it feels just like the other one. I mean, virtually the same weight. This one actually might be a tad bit heavier. I mean, I guess I pulled a couple things off of it, but I wouldn't think so much that I'd be able to feel weight difference. I mean, they're pretty close. And the construction, everything looks the same. The output hoses are facing the same way. The plug's in the same spot. It's like $96. Yeah, this one seems to be made pretty good. So we'll test this one out and see if we get a similar resistance to my little cheater fix here I was hoping to use. And if we do, well, then I'll move forward with that. If it's way off, then obviously that option isn't going to work. Let's see. Let's clamp this on there. I'm going to turn this back to the noisemaker. I'm going to check for continuity just to make sure we got a good ground. Yep. Make sure down here. Okay. So now, what do I want to do? I want to hold it into the plug again. Yeah, I guess I can do that. It's going to be, what color they got? Gray. Gray on this one instead of yellow. That's how they get away with it. They use the factory color. Okay, so I have this all the way at the bottom. Maybe not. Maybe not get a good contact here. Okay, so I'm reading 15 ohms. Oh, 15 to 160. And that one went 15 to 166. I mean, what's 6 ohms between friends, right? So I think that our little cheapo $16 sending unit fuel level resistor will work. You know, worst thing is I have to drop a tank again. That's always fun. Anyway. Okay. The only difference between this one and the factory one, what in the world, is the float. This one looks like some contemporary modern art sculpture, and this one's just, a 7. So, I mean, I guess as long as they go the full motion, doesn't really matter. But, I would probably just switch the float out. If I'm going to use this one, I'm just probably going to put this float back on, clean the rust up. Maybe. Well, maybe I can't because this one's facing the other way. I don't know. We'll figure that out if we have to cross that bridge. So now that I know, I've got a reference with a known, well, we don't know it's good because we used to get that, but at least tests good. So that's good. Put this back. In the box so I don't destroy it, because sometimes I'm kind of like a bull in a china shop. Nothing's safe. Okay. Now that I know that is a possibility, I'll try to unclip this dude from here without breaking it, hopefully. So I'm just kind of sticking the screwdriver in here and pushing this little piece, pushing down on it on my lovely workbench. You know, all my other workbenches are filled up with tools and crap, so getting a lot of work done on them. All right, let's see. As I'm sure everybody else's garage is probably similar, especially if you're doing stuff like this. I got so many projects. Oh, there we go. There, popped right out of there. So that's good. We'll use that for baby's first automotive float when you have grandkids, Dakota. That's my daughter's filming, so I got to give her a hard time. Yeah, I think that'll work just fine. Okay, now we just got to figure out how I'm going to attach this, because this thing is rusty, crusty. Okay. Oh, I need to go this way though. Yeah, an important aspect I probably ought to mention is you want to make sure that when you put this on, that your lowest ohms reading is, you know, so when this is in the tank, your float, when it's empty, your float's going to come down here. So you want to make sure whichever way your lowest ohm reading was, you know, you want to orientate this so that way it's going to be pointing, your lowest reading is going to be pointing down. That way, you know, when it's empty, it doesn't read full. When it's, you know, full, it doesn't read empty. I mean, I guess if you knew that it was like that, then you'd know when you fill your tank up, the gauge is going to read empty, and then when it gets to full, you'd be like, uh-oh, I better go get some fuel in this thing. It says it's almost full. I don't know what I'm talking about sometimes. Anyways, since I conveniently forgot which way this one went, I'm going to test it again. So I went ahead and I pulled the wire off. You know, I had to fight with the bolt, the little screw while, you know, it's just on a rusty piece of metal. No big deal. I wedged the screwdriver underneath this plate between the tube and the plate, got it wedged up, kind of broke it off, was tack welded on. I'm going to kind of file these down a little bit because I don't want to go through the tube, just to get them a little more flush where the weld spots were, and I'm going to kind of outline this, make me up a little plate to attach back to the tube, and then that way I can mount the new resistor to it. So all I'm going to do here is line up the two weld marks. This is for where I'm going to put a couple bolts through from this side to bolt the new resistor onto, but I'll weld my weld marks up, make a couple little holes here so I have something to weld to, just a little spot weld.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
Don't touch it, you might burn yourself.
Sitting here doing your own thing, you can do your own thing. Okay.
So, got the plate made. Just two simple welds. I went right on top of where the old welds were, just because there's the most to attach to there. I didn't want to risk burning through the tube or anything. So, but if you don't have a welder or anything, don't let that discourage you, because, I mean, technically, I could have just used the wire wheel on this thing a whole lot and got this as good as I could get it, and just drilled, you know, some holes in it that lined up with our holes on here, and just got some longer bolts, you know, some longer bolts and nuts. These I'm going to be using a couple nylocks, just because that's what I found in my random bolt jar to use. So this is all stuff I basically had laying around to adapt this with. So I'm just going to get this dude attached on here. Oh, now I see a. Hey, can you grab that pin, that marker that I was using? Now I see a little bit of an issue with my plate here. The bottom, thank you. The bottom of the float is sticking out, so I'm gonna drill out that little section there so it can go flush against the plate without interfering, so it's not pushing on it. Man, it doesn't look perfect, but I mean, I should have good continuity, and we'll test that here in just a second to make sure we got the continuities. Yep. So I'm gonna grab my clip. You don't have to have a clip if you don't have one. Just it makes it easier. So I'm gonna clip on to the actual float unit. And I'm gonna test up here. See if I got continuity. Make sure here. Yep. Oh yeah. Kind of sounds like a heartbeat.
I don't think a heartbeat's
After
supposed
I
to
get
go
up
that
off the couch.
fast.
Okay. Anyway. So yeah, we got good continuity everywhere. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Not so much on this one, but that's isolated wire. So we got to attach that, and then we'll test continuity between our wire and the end of this plug to make sure we have a good connection there. Now, I got to find a bolt to attach this little guy to this little guy right here. Right, that's actually not too bad. I've just been using these foam packs of sandpaper. I think I got it at the H freight, hobo freight, whatever people like to call it. They work really good for cleaning up some of this little rusty metal. They're not too coarse or anything like that. But I use them a lot for these little kind of things. That connection actually looks really good. So I think we're good on that. So I'll just get me a little nut and bolt to smash that down together. Yeah. Where's put this guy? Had to go to the old bucket. So we'll check continuity one more time, make sure our wire is good to the plug with the ground on the sending unit. Oop. Make sure. Yep. This will be the red side of the plug. Good continuity. Sweet. Now, if I can get this thing popped out of here, should be able to. Hopefully, we can do it without breaking it. Finally. Okay. So, after fighting for 19 years on that, got this apart. Here's your two filters. Ew, those are gross. But, okay, get off of there. And then I'm going to clean that out. It's got all kinds of rust and crap in there. So I'm going to get this all cleaned up.
Hey, your jacket's a little ripped.
Yeah, it's okay. That happens. Alright, so I'm going to finish getting this cleaned up and we'll be back here in a little bit. Okay, so got the ground attached, got the wire for the resistor for the sending unit float attached. I just put some heat shrink on both of these just to kind of help protect the connection where they're in the connectors here. Now we're going to test just to make sure we got a good connection on everything. Now we're going to test at the plug and measure our ohms. So going to get this pushed on here so I can see something. Alright, right now we're at 170 ohms. I'm going to slowly 120, 98, 60, 30, all the way into full, about 16 ohms. So far, this $16 part is working exactly as the one that came on the factory replacement that was $100. It's an off-brand, probably, you know, made in Taiwan or China, one of those places. So, if you wanted a factory replacement, you're going to be spending, you know, a few $100s. If this ends up working out for me, I'm going to have $36 into repairing this factory sending unit. Honestly, I don't believe this one's ever been changed, which is pretty amazing. My truck has 185,000 miles on it. It's a 2001. And this looks like it's got even the factory sticker on the top, but it's kind of hard to see. But so now for our little screen filters, I've got the housing for the screens all cleaned up. I've got the top that plugs into those all cleaned up. So now I'm just going to get ready to basically put all this back together. So we've got our new screens in this little box here. This kit was $18. This is the other piece of the puzzle. So the swing, the resistance swing for the float was 16. The kit with the 2 internal filters for this housing and the suction tube with this little piece was $18. So, and they were on Prime also, so if you have Prime, it's free shipping. So this has the screen already in it. This feels exactly, actually it's quite a bit more malleable than the one I pulled out of the tank. And it was in pieces. It had fallen off. I got pieces out. I shot back the rest of the diesel fuel and all the little crap that was inside of there out. I have heard people had issues with this thing on some of the replacements with this little valve right here sticking open where it would, so if your fuel level gets below this here, if this were to stick open, it would suck air through here and make your truck run like you're running out of gas instead of pulling it through here. But I mean, honestly, if the fuel's that low to where you're only got, you know, an inch between the bottom and that thing, then, I mean, you probably need to go get some fuel. But people have fixed that problem by putting something in here to plug this hole up. Basically, you can jam something in there. I'm just gonna try it and see how it goes. Worst case scenario, I gotta drop the tank, but I've already got the bolts all broke free and everything, so if I have to drop it soon, it's gonna be easy to do because all the bolts are gonna come right out instead of me having to soak them and heat them up and soak them and heat them up. Anyway, all right. So now these are just gonna drop right in here. I mean, they can only go in one way. And you line up, you got 2 holes on this side, 2 on this side, or 1 on this side, 2 on this side, and just make sure your little holes line up just to match that. So do that and push this dude down. It's a pretty tight fit. I fought with it for a while, getting it out, but 2 clicks and ready to rock and roll. So now we'll just get this slid over, and all this does, I mean, you just gently rock it back and forth and pull up at the same time, just like this, and you take it off. I didn't show that on video, but it was so easy to take off, I didn't figure we needed to really do that. All right, put that in there until it's nice and feels good there. Line this up this way, so this is that hose that'll go from here to here, just like that. And then our suction tube will go over just like that. We'll put a wire or hose clamp on that, but that's gonna be the unit. We'll get the new hose on and everything like that, and we'll come right back. All right, so this was all put together like we showed. Only thing I had to do was turn the float around, because turns out the lowest resistance on this one is going to be the empty, and the highest resistance is going to be the full. So it's opposite from what I found online. So I just had to pull the float off, bend it up a little different, got it back in the same position that it was, so it goes from empty to full. We're going to leave it hanging in the empty position. I've got it plugged in here to this harness that goes up to the gauge, and we'll go up to the truck, and it should change from showing full to going, it should go cycle back to empty. Because before, all it was doing was staying stuck on full. Yeah, now it shows empty. So I'm gonna go hold the gauge, or hold the float at half tank, and if you would, turn the key off, turn it back on, and then it should show at half tank. or close to a half tank. Go ahead and turn the key off. Turn it back on. It should show above full.
Yep.
There we go. So we're gonna get this thrown in the tank and we'll come back and I'll show putting it in the tank. We're back in the garage. So I'll just final look over, make sure, you know, nothing's on pull apart. That feels good. Everything's on there good. So just gonna get this drop back down in here. And it has a groove in there, so it only goes on a certain way. Right, so we'll finish tightening that down, and I got to change some hoses for the fill hoses, stuff like that, but put it on the truck, verify that it worked before we put it in the tank. So now all I got to do is just reassemble, put it back in the truck, and put some diesel in it and go test it out. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. Hope this helped somebody out. Like I said, this is a $36 fix altogether, ordering these two replacement pieces off of Amazon. You got to do a little bit of fabrication to it depending on the condition of what your bracket is on your old sending unit. But, you know, if you can drill a couple holes, put some bolts through, get that new piece attached, flip over your float, you should be good to go with $36 versus, you know, $100 or $400. So thanks for watching again. Please comment with any suggestions or any helpful tips for anyone else. Appreciate it and look forward to making some more videos in the future.